My name is Night. We have all experienced some sort of paranormal activity in our lifetime. Things we cannot explain. This happens all around the world. In some places, though, the line between this dimension and the next is less stable. This letter is written from overseas, in a place where the line is definitely less stable. I am writing from Yamanashi, Japan. My name is Obi-Wan. No, I am not a Kenobi. Just Obi-Wan. The Force is not strong with this one. I have grown a sense of humor over the past 2 years. Something I've never had. As stale as it may be, you'll come to understand that it's a miracle that I even have this. As a young boy, I was deprived of many things. I grew up in extreme poverty, so much so that my parents could not buy me new shoes. I wore the same pair for 5 years. Those 5 years were very long years. My toes are mildly deformed from being scrunched in them for so long. I have many siblings. All were born before me. So everything I own was passed down by my elder brother and sisters. I never had anything to call my own. And the worst part is that I couldn't complain about it because of our situation. My mom and dad died when I was 3 months old. So my eldest brother took care of all of us. He tried his best anyway. I will always love him for it. I never have girlfriend. Even to this day. So many people, and not one woman look my way. This used to depress me, but I have grown a hard shell over my heart. Now, my heart is impenetrable. Nothing can hurt my feeling, no more. When my sister died of illness, I decided to kill myself. I did not see the point in living in this world no more. All I knew was suffering and wanting, but never obtaining. I have heard stories about committing suicide. They say, if you end your life before your time, God rejects your soul and you go to hell. Even with this as a possibility, I chose to go through with my decision. This is how pitiful my life was. One night, I pack my bag and make my way to Aokigahara, the Sea of Trees. In English-speaking countries, this forest is known as Suicide Forest. In all my travels, I never set foot in this place. Considering the motive for this occasion, I believe it's as good a time as any. I arrive around 2 in the morning. When I set foot in the forest, I immediately got a really bad feeling. I put it off as my mind playing tricks on me, but I knew something wasn't there. The forest is different than the films. In the movies, animals shy away from the forest, but I can hear crickets and other crawling things in the distance. This calmed me enough to continue. I traveled about 1 kilometer into the dark forest and stopped. This is it. I knelt down and pulled out an old rope I find in my basement. I climbed up the most stable-looking tree within eyeshot. My oldest brother taught me how to tie a strong knot when I was littler. I put that knowledge to good use that day. As I put the noose around my neck, I began to tear up. Now was not the time to think about my family. I love them all, but I just cannot live like this anymore. And with that thought, I closed my eyes and jumped. Everything I have just revealed is nothing compared to the horror I am about to share with you. I have never told anyone what I am about to tell you, Mr. Knight. Immediately after I jumped, there was no struggling. There was no pain. There was peace. I felt more alive than I have ever felt. My senses were more sensitive. The colors around me were far more vibrant. I didn't feel sad anymore, but I didn't feel happy neither. In the distance, I noticed a woman. I felt compelled to follow her. As I got closer, I could hear her voice calling my name, but her mouth was shut. Her voice was hazy, but I could make out my name. I noticed that she was not as vibrant as the rest of the world. This became very evident when I got within range. She held out her hand. When I offered my hand, it was evident she was bland. She began to glide deeper into the forest. I say glide because her feet were not moving. I wanted to ask her, "Where are you taking me?" But I was unable. I was in a paralytic state and didn't notice until then. It happened when I grabbed this strange woman's hand. The deeper she led me into the forest, the more intense the fear grew in my heart. Remember, all senses are multiplied in this realm. We came to the foot of a mountain and entered through a dark cave. In a dreamlike state, I am utterly helpless. I no longer have control over my body. The cave is pitch black, but I feel like I am descending. This feeling lasted what seemed like an eternity. I regained control over my body and realized I was screaming at the top of my lungs this whole time. My throat was so sore that the pain was almost unbearable. I grabbed the woman out of anger and punched her in the back of the head. She didn't move. She was so still. I put my arm on her shoulder and turned her around. The look on her face gives me nightmares to this day. Her face was twisted in petrification, so much so that her skin began to tear. As a reaction, I backed up out of my own fear and fell off of a ledge. That's when I felt the heat. I noticed I was slowly falling into a sea of fire. I began to hear the woeful wails and moans of dead men and the screeching screams of dead women. The longer I fell, the hotter the flames. I got to the point where I longed to be engulfed by them because of the pain. Though I never reached the bottom, it seems to just stay out of my reach. After an unknown amount of time, I felt something rip through my back and come out my stomach. I was then lifted from the flames and transported to another area. As I was being transported, I passed over many sights. Things existed here that never should have been created in the first place. Large, ram-like creatures that stood as men stand, with blades for arms, chopped the arms and legs off of people tied to a conveyor belt. Large women with male genitalia violently raping helpless men. And more sights I choose not to speak of. As my eyes seen these things, I began to pray. I don't know to whom. I just prayed really, really hard. I wanted to live again. I didn't want to be stuck here for eternity. All of a sudden, I felt something. It was a great peace. How, in all that is holy, can I possibly feel this at this time? It surpassed all understanding. Something then shifted in the atmosphere of this realm. Everything around me froze, and every creature looked in my direction. At that moment, I was dropped from the spear and fell on what felt like wet soil. The soil was drenched in dark blue blood, as if it never left the vein. I stood up and noticed a large hole in my abdomen, but I felt no pain. I felt no fear, only peace. I started to follow this path, and the longer I walked, the more vibrant everything became. I noticed a small light in the mass of the darkness. The light led to the forest where I killed myself. It was still dark outside. Something drew me to a certain part of the forest, an outward force I cannot explain. I followed it and it led me to the tree where I hung myself. I was shocked to find my body still hanging from the tree, almost as if I was gone for mere minutes. Very bizarre. That's when I realized I was in spirit form. My earthly body's neck was broken, but I still felt like I should enter it. I don't recall what happened after that. One moment, I was staring at my corpse in disbelief. The next, I was human again, inside of my body, standing at the outskirts of the forest. Everything felt numb. My sight was withered. I have awful headache. My stomach feel empty. Not hungry, empty. Like that part of my essence was absent. My neck was still broken, but the pain was very dull from the numbness. I didn't know how I was alive, but I was. I am. I went to the nearest hospital and they were frightened by me. They could not understand it neither, but they took care of me all the same. I was awake when they did the surgery on my neck. They feared knocking me unconscious would stop my heart, because the pulse was already very, very faint. It felt like pins and needles. I remember thanking God for the numbness, because I know that shit would have been painful. The next day my family arrived at hospital. All my brother and sister were there, with tears in their eyes. Even my eldest brother. That really broke my heart. In a good way. They truly care about me. They truly love me. And that love is what keeps me alive to this day. I still have empty feeling in the pit of my stomach, like a piece of me is missing. It's difficult to explain. I know what I write is difficult to believe also. That is why I have never spoken of it until now. I sometimes think it a bad dream. Rather hope, wish, perhaps. But I know it happened. And I write this letter in the hopes that if you read it, it will change the mind of another man that can't deal with this life. Love is the key. Besides, the trials of this life is heaven compared to the hell I witnessed firsthand. Life can feel like hell, but make no mistake, there is a hell, and this life is far from it. We must find the strength to continue and finish our journey. We must find love. Leave your thoughts in the comment section, and don't forget to click the subscribe button.